The summer days are getting just a little bit shorter as we reach the tail end of August, but that just means we're inching closer to the season finales of the SRO Motorsports America Series. Just 2 rounds remain in the 2024 SRO America season, and with Indianapolis looming, the Toyota GR Cup North America heads to Alabama and Barber Motorsports Park next weekend. We're 1 week out from that penultimate round, and so we'll race at Barber today in iRacing for round 6 of the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League. This sim competition has been absolutely thrilling, with 2 drivers that have battled head-to-head all season long. Today, we race for 60 minutes at this flowing, sinuous circuit just outside of Birmingham. Hi, everybody. Kyle Heyer, joined, as always, by Justin Prince. Justin, welcome aboard. Really excited to be back at Barber Motorsports Park, the first return to Barber in many years for SRO Motorsports America.
And today should be an intriguing one, to say the very least, for these drivers, because it's an ever-flowing racetrack. But better yet, when it comes to how you drive this track, it's one where there's going to be a fair amount of passing opportunities because of the flow of the circuit and because there's the chance of drivers making mistakes. It's a penultimate round, though, for a reason. There's a lot of pressure for the championship front runners to perform well here in Alabama.
Absolutely, and this racetrack, built in 2003, Justin, it's one of the newer circuits here in North America, designed by Alan Wilson. It was designed primarily as a bike racing circuit, so it's got some characteristics that are sort of unique as far as car racing tracks are concerned. It doesn't have crazy long straightaways. We won't see the drafting that we saw at Road America, but it is a very unique racetrack and could make for some pretty close racing.
And could make for some fair amount of mistakes in the ever-flowing portions, especially because you might have some off tracks. I've seen a lot of people, especially the opening corners of this racetrack, just launch it off into the grass. It's so easy to make mistakes here at Barber, and those mistakes will be exemplified and amplified, I think, today.
Let's have a look at our Continental Track preview for tonight. 2.3 miles around here, 15 turns. This track folds back on itself. It's got tons of elevation change, but it has a lot of high-speed corners as well. We're going to be compressing that suspension over the course of a lap, Justin.
That run through turn 1's going to be very quick. A lot of people overshoot it, either make contact with some walls or go off into the grass. That'll set things up for 2, 3, and 4. Before you go to the hairpin section, essentially that's where the ever-flowing portion of the pack really settles on in. It's by that second half of the racetrack, by turn 11, where you start to see a bit of slipstream, an opening opportunity to make some passes. But it leads that final straightaway. That front straightaway going to be your best friend to make passes, I think, today.
I think so as well. We have a look at our point standings coming into this event. It's Michael Polasek up on top. He has been absolutely fantastic as of late. 3 wins in a row, Justin. Comes in with a 53-point advantage over Michael Yanni. And the situation today is that if Michael Yanni finishes 6th or worse and Polasek wins this race, mathematically Polasek is the champion. But that's going to require a lot of careful planning by Polasek and a tough day for Yanni to end up like that.
It's going to be very difficult, I think, right now, regardless, for Yanni to try and battle for the championship, yes. But it's going to come down to precise driving and possibly a mistake. Polasek, he has been on fire for the past couple weeks when it comes to his flow and rhythm. He's going to be extremely difficult to beat. 3 wins on the season in 5 races says a lot about his character as a driver, rather, on the circuit in a series like this. I think he's going to be someone in contention for win number 4 even today.
When you look at the season being 7 races long, if you've won almost half of them, that is already putting you in a pretty good conversation to be a champion. And then we've got Indianapolis coming up. That's where things are really going to come down to the wire, I think, if Yanni can really mount an attack or an assault on Polasek here this time out. And Andre Castro's a little bit far back there to really be in contention, but he's not too far behind Michael Yanni as well, after Yanni had a pretty tough day at Road America last time out. So that's also something to keep an eye on, as that battle for second.
Yeah, Castro's provided a lot of pressure. We've seen also some good runs. I will give shout-outs to drivers like Nate Storr throughout the season, Jason Landry. There's been a lot of drivers with some good momentum throughout the races. You know who's also shot through the standings? Up 12, Austin Farr made a start last time out. Just 2 starts already, top half of the field. He's someone, if we see him in the field today, could also be very fast.
So with qualifying underway, let's head down to the racetrack and see where things are at the moment. And perhaps it's no surprise, early in the going here, still 20 minutes left in this qualifying session. It's Michael Polasek up on top, but it has been frantic so far with drivers trying to find space on the racetrack and get their laps in. They really want to get laps in early here to give themselves as many chances as they can to qualify well.
Still yet to set a qualifying time. I've noticed he's the first and only of those in that ballpark, but everybody else has been quite simply just trying to make sure the tires are to the right temperature, get back to the racing line, get into a flow, quickly put up a fast lap time. The shade over the racetrack may cause a bit of urgency to increase some lap time, though. This might drop the track temperature that ever little bit to be able to find some extra grip and find some extra speed here.
Yeah, 42 degrees Celsius track temp, air temp is 26, and there was some rain threatening in the area, but I don't think we're going to get it here today in iRacing, so drivers won't have the experience that they had back at VIR earlier in the season. We mentioned Andre Castro chasing the point standings in third. He's 15th at the moment. He's looking for a better run here in qualifying, but let's talk a little bit about this race car as well before we get too deep into the show. Of course, this is the car we've been campaigning with all season long, the Toyota GR Cup, the GRNA 6-base chassis, flat boxer engine, Alcon brakes, and tons of other bits and pieces from TRD and Toyota Gazoo Racing North America. Justin, it is a really fun tool for the job, isn't it?
It's an extremely fun tool, and they'll be utilizing a lot of those Continental tires here today to be able to try and get the grip around the racetrack, make sure they stay on the racing surface. It's also going to be a balance as well, I think, to be able to go through those Alcon brakes, make sure you just hit it just right without cooking your tires and cooking your car and sending yourself off the racetrack by going too far deep in on speed.
See a handful of drivers on this back straightaway heading into the S's and leading into these big curb jumps here as well. It's almost flat here when you're following drivers. It's probably flat in qualifying on lower fuel. But this track, let's ride on board with Andre Castro for a bit here. This is the first corner. This is turn 2, a long flowing turn. Tuck it in tight here on the right. Get back on throttle as soon as possible because you're heading uphill to one of your best passing opportunities here at turn 5.
Yeah, this area here is going to set up some great opportunities to send it if you're brave, especially up the inside. Seen a lot of side-by-side battles in various classes of racing here with the iRacing service, where someone just sends it inside, keeps it side-by-side, power to the outside to be able to defend. But if you're able to keep it side-by-side, it sets up some good opportunities because of this lengthy straightaway to make the pass and maybe get the swing around by the time you get up to the next portion of the racetrack for the tight braking zone.
And you run down the hill into the corkscrew here and get back on the throttle again as soon as you can. This is effectively all a straightaway in a GR86. Now back on the power, using that flat 4 up to 7,500 RPM red line. Jump the curb on the left, jump the curb on the right, just a little bit less. Watch the grass and the track limits here today as well. There is an incident limit in effect. You cannot go over that incident limit without serving a drive-through penalty. Down the hill, big curb jump on the left. Use the one on the right as well if you need the rotation. And over this crest into the last sequence, turns 13 through 15. And this is where I think it ends up being a trouble spot in a pack, Justin, is because everyone's kind of got different lines heading through here.
You know, there's a fair amount of approach, as well as the fact that if you have someone who has to enter the pit lane, well, that's where you have to enter the pit lane, is to the outside. So you might end up having some checkup effects if someone's got damage and has to peel off right there. That time by Castro, though, put up a top 10 qualifying time as he is going to reset by crashing into the barrels.
Back to pit lane as quickly as possible. A couple drivers that we should point out here that some of them have been here for some time. You'll notice there's a couple Tech Sport teammates in line. Devin Anderson is the 220. Then in this car just ahead of him is the number 72 on timing and scoring. That's Ethan Goulart. And Ethan is a 15-year-old who most recently made his first GR Cup Series start in the real world back at Virginia International Raceway. Ran top 10 that weekend, had a really solid run there. And he's also going to join another Tech Sport teammate here, Aiden Kirk, if he is on track. I don't think Aiden actually made it into the race today, but having a trio would have been better than a duo, but Goulart's top 10 already.
Not bad so far. After all, in final practice, he was towards the bottom half of the field, so he's found a good rhythm to the racetrack. Someone with some familiarity to the sim. He has had some starts in official races, but he's also young. And it's going to be a learning experience to be able to be a part of this field today and get some of the best in all of the platform and when it comes to style of racing, as well as some of his real-world competitors to be able to see where he stacks up. It's going to be interesting to keep an eye on him today, depending on how he does. Right now, just locked behind Soto in front of Castro.
Yeah, his dad's also a famous road racer as well, so it runs in the family as Michael Polasek is just up the road. Leads the field by 0.2 of a second. And Paul Darling is the second quickest car on the racetrack at the moment. And he had a pretty solid run, I want to say, back at Road America. Looking back on his season, he finished third there. And his season so far, he's run 4 of the 5 races. And Paul Darling has not finished worse than 6th. If you look at the map, 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd. He owes us a second today, doesn't he, Justin?
Yeah, just if you add it up in terms of the order, there's a chance there, especially from him when it comes to the flow. Darling is, after all, second right now in qualifying, so it put him in the right spot to be able to do so. He has been a respectful driver throughout the series for Satellite Racing, and we knew that coming in, he was going to be someone to keep an eye on because of his experience and how he's competed against some of these drivers in our series. He's been doing very well in this session, consistently in the 136 4s and 5s.
And then Nick Yanni working with the number 92, Michael Yanni, his brother. He had a pretty decent outing at Road America. It was quicker than I think the results showed. He finished 13th there, but ran much better than that for most of the day. And Nick's given us a look inside his cockpit. He's got triple screens. I love this because you can see what the driver can see out the left window there. You can kind of get a perspective of looking out the window net and out the windshield, and then obviously to the passenger side that we can't see because that's where the camera is mounted. But he's right ahead of Weston Workman in the number 13, the JBL car. And Workman joins us as a real-world competitor for JBL and Copeland Motorsports there, and we'll see him again next weekend. He's getting practice for the real race, where he'll try to take down his teammate Gresham Wagner next weekend.
And Workman, keep in mind, throughout this series on the virtual side at least, has been one of the hard chargers. When he keeps it clean, he's usually one of the fastest people in the race. He can put it in race speed-wise. It's just qualifying. If Workman was to be able to find those extra 3-4 tenths qualifying, he'd save himself a lot of trouble in these races on the virtual side to be able to put himself in the conversation.
This is one of his better qualifying efforts as well. His finishes have not been all that great, but it's not for lack of pace in the race. As you pointed out, qualifying's been a struggle for him, and he often charges through the field, making up lots of ground, but then gets kind of caught up in collisions. I think at Road America might have been the precipitated one, but I think if he can continue and make it through an entire 60-minute event here, he'd absolutely be in the conversation for a top 10 and maybe even a race win as he follows the PT Autosport by Precision Racing LA teammates just ahead of him, the 92 and the 43. Michael Yanni, by the way, third on the racetrack right now, second in the championship standings, and I think his goal here is just to stay mathematically in touch with Michael Polasek. I don't know that he's going to take a huge chunk out of the 45 here, but it's going to require Polasek to have something go wrong either here or at Indianapolis next round. And if that happens, Yanni is absolutely still in contention for this title.
It's the questions of if, and the tough thing is Yanni, remember, missed a race, and that's one, in fact, the reason I would argue he's so far back in the standings. If it wasn't for that race, we might be talking about things a little bit differently. Of course, didn't have the greatest of runs last time out to help his chances. He knew it was going to be a hard climb. Every time we spoke with him, he said that. He finished 29th, mind you, at Road America. So I think at this point, he's going to need to hope for the luck, as you said. The problem is Polasek has been mightily consistent, top 10 at the worst in races. His worst finish was the start of the season at 7th. He's been a walking top 2 since.
He has really put on a phenomenal season, and you can tell at the tail end of the race when the checkered flag falls how amped he is. But yeah, 7th, 2nd, and then 3 firsts in a row. And when you're looking at winning an eSports title, this is a way to do it. And Devin Anderson following him out of pit lane. Anderson, another real-world competitor in the Toyota GR Cup North America Series, has also competed in TC America in a similar chassis. And following out the fastest guy on the racetrack is almost never a bad idea.
Not a bad idea whatsoever right now. And at this point, you can see just how they have to play the tire game. Just try to heat it up just right. You don't want to fry the tires either. Others, like Nate Stewart, they need a push right now. Nate Stewart, remember we talked about him having a bit of a slow start, getting times on the board. Right now in 22nd in qualifying. Not usually where we see him.
No, and he's another driver that had a pretty disastrous round at Road America. It wasn't for lack of trying or putting himself in contention. He was right in the mix in the top 5 in the closing laps, got tangled up and turned around, and ended up finishing 16th there, and that was after 3 consecutive top 10s, including a podium back at VIR in the rain. So he'd like to right the ship a little. He dropped a spot in the championship standings. He's 8th, but only a few points behind Ethan Lampe, who is not competing. Thomas Belleman, who is also not here today, so he should pick up that. And then Jason Landry is not too far ahead of him, but Landry is P4 at the moment.
Landry's been held up a little bit at times in qualifying, and it looks like he's now found a way to Michael Polasek. Just playing the tire games in the middle of the racetrack, but there's no one else around him, so no harm, no foul at the moment. But it just emphasizes just how much precision it comes down to qualifying. If you just go flat out, cold tires might cause you to slide, and we've seen every bit of ounce of speed be the difference makers. Every little bit of temperature in the tires be the difference maker so far in the qualifying session. After all, no one's been able to touch those 36 ones that Polasek started the session with so far, even with the clouds beforehand. Dropping the temperature a bit, the sun back out, temperature's going to go back up.
Yeah, it's gone up by a degree Celsius, so not a lot, but when we're talking about the margins of thousandths between drivers, it could absolutely matter. Weston Workman, by the way, jumped up to 10th place. This would be one of his best starts of the season, as see Goulart have to work around him here in this final sector on the racetrack. Matt Best and Kevin Rold having decent runs here in qualifying as well. Rold in the, well, he just got bumped down to 6th as Castro went 5th, but Matt Best, 7th place. Good runs for these two. I'm sure they'll be happy to start up inside the top 10.
We've seen some great runs from Best, I will say, especially in the qualifying. It's just a matter of keeping it clean and keeping it up at the front. We've seen him, quite frankly, be in the conversation at least twice. VIR comes to mind before the incident started to really pile up. So we know that Matt Best can be one of the best when he's able to put focus in it. Just the 2 starts so far. But so far, doing what he's done, qualify well. He's just got to finish well without incidents stacking up like they have in both of his races at VIR and Road America.
And another little pack forming back here behind Andre Castro, who's P5 on the board, and that's Jordan Rick Segrini, BSI Racing's number 18. Hopefully we'll see him next week at Barber in the real world. And you notice that there's about a half dozen of the real competitors in here, Justin, and it's all to practice. This is one of the only simulators that has Barber Motorsports Park in it to this fidelity. And while this is a slightly older laser scan, it's still very true to what these drivers are going to experience next weekend. Now, remember that last season we did not go to Barber and SRO America in the real world, so this is one of the only tracks this season that they're going to for the first time. They have no notebook, so why not compete in the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League and make some notes as a driver before you even show up to the track?
You speak with some of the stock car racers and platform, they do the same thing. Whenever there's a new track, if they don't have access to the simulator, why not jump on iRacing and race in that said simulator from home and be able to learn the ebbs and flows of the racetrack? It does help to be able to learn the braking marks, to be able to learn where you're supposed to lift, to be able to learn where some of the bumps may be on the racetrack when you get there. It is a learning tool for the real world racers. It does help a fair bit to be able to help compete at the real world racetrack by the time you get there, especially if you don't have prior experience. That's where it really comes in dividend.
Yeah, some of the drivers that are heading there next week might have had some experience there in grassroots series or other championships, but not in their Toyota GR Cup North America car. So just learning braking points and things like that could be of use as well. But Workman chasing Ethan Goulart. I'm sure we'll see those two battling very much next week as well. Driver that is struggling here in qualifying, and maybe it's a surprise, is Matt Adams in the 17. This has been a bit of a shocker to me, given how well we've seen him run at times. He got his best finish of the season back at Road America. That was a 4th. He had a 9th at Sonoma, but outside of the top 15 for the other 3 rounds. And it wasn't, again, for lack of speed. He was very quick at a number of those places and just couldn't get the result he was hoping for as Nate Stewart slides out of 6.
kind of showcases why Stewart's been struggling a little bit, just can't get the flow down on the racetrack as he lets by his teammate. Right now, just not looking great for him. Speaking the same thing for Matt Adams. We've seen Matt compete up at the front for race wins. He's just not, I think, had a really clean lap down so far. He's in practice, he was a second slower, and so far has been able to up his time, up from the second time out of the racetrack. Since then, he's had invalidated lap 7 of the past about 7, or rather 5 times on the racetrack.
Yeah,
there's an error. Doesn't
bode well. And again, keeping the car on the racetrack is important because we do have that incident limit. You go beyond the limits that you're given, then you're going to end up serving a drive-through penalty. Weston Workman, by the way, improved to 8th that time, so there are a couple drivers still finding some speed. Martineau up to 12th, and Chris Severt in the 39. His teammate up to 11th place, but he will pit in and go again.
But overall, you have to say, it looks like for the most part, Drops have really settled into the run. It's just a matter of seeing, can they squeak out an extra spot here? I think Landry might be one of those that could squeak an extra spot. Not sure why Kevin Rold went into the grass there, but for the most part, it's the matter of setting up the order. You can see Michael Polasek trying to get things work together. Joshua Soto's in this queue of drivers, just trying to make sure they get one extra lap in, because every position is key for the start. We know how critical track position can be here.
Michael Polasek of the G-Force Racing car getting back in line here to go for one last run. Now it's going to be really close when they finish this. This is the last mathematical opportunity to get a lap in here, because when they come across the stripe, I think they're going to be down to about 1 minute and 30, minute and 40 seconds, which means that they likely will not be able to finish another lap, especially with the slower pace on this outlap. But into the S's here. This is an area that we're going to see a lot of risks later today. If you can get alongside a driver here, you have to take all this curb. They're smooth, flat curbs for the most part, but if you get them at the wrong angle, it can send you for a ride.
I haven't seen anybody take the wrong angle so far on the curbing. Everyone's been fairly good on it. There's the wrong angle though with the backdrop. Soto took a bit too much curbing and it sent him straight off into the grass. That's exactly, I think, what you're talking about here. Watch this. You end up getting to the wrong angle. Say you try and take almost all the curbing, it can jet you out tight. In that case, Soto, it sends him tight into the grass and loses him a couple spots in the queue.
Matt Best slowing down there, letting the group go by. 1:50, so they're going to get 2 more laps if they want. They feel necessary. I think is that the 92 coming back on the road right alongside them. Or actually, that was the 43 car, Nick Yanni. Chris Wetz has retired his car, so he will, well, he's rolling now. So he wants one more opportunity. I don't think he's going to get it, though. So we head down into 5 here.
Probably trying to make sure they get a good run in right now, and so far just all lockstep. Jason Landry obviously not going to get the effect of the toe down the straightaways. He's kind of sitting duck almost in this circumstance. Polasek, wow, seems very dialed in after all. Yanni, mind you, did now get the advantage for the top of the board. Let's see this replay with the curbs.
Yeah, and that Michael Yanni edged out Polasek by 97 1/1000ths. Watch this curb commitment. Polasek absolutely throwing the car up over the rumbles, and he knows now that he needs some time to defeat Michael Yanni. Now, this is going to get fun here because these are the two that are battling for the title, and they're right back to the top of the board here in the late stages of qualifying.
Big difference on racing lines there between Landry and Polasek. Landry trying to almost sit on top of the curbing. Polasek gained a lot more time by not attacking that curb aggressively. We'll see if they're able to bump things up here. Less than 30 seconds on the clock. Landry lost a bit of ground compared to Polasek on the racetrack. Where's it going to be? 136.6. No improvement from Polasek. He might need this one lap to see if he can do anything.
Here's Michael Yanni sitting trackside right now. He's just put in the fastest lap of Q at a 136.077. and Polasek is trying to chase him back down. Polasek is right on the edge of yellow and green. Checkered is out. They'll have to finish this lap, and this is it.
Now it becomes the question, that just settled itself pretty quickly. Landry got himself very loose, and that solves the situation for Polasek. Believe that checked up Workman as well.
Yeah.
As Polasek's not happy, he just said, you know what, I'm done.
Can't blame him. I don't think he knew that lap wasn't going to get any better. But I can't imagine he'll be upset with that. He's looked forward to the battles this season, which I think has been so fun to watch. Those two, I see Weston Workman bailing out as well as the ST Racing looking cars go on by. The battles, they've looked forward to them. They've had fierce fights. They've, pushed and shoved each other a little bit. Think back to VIR, but it's always been respectful. And even in moments of defeat, Michael Yanni had all the right in the world to be upset about it. And he just said, it was fair play. I just got outraced. I think, Yanni owes Polasek a little space. Polasek owes Yanni space. And as long as it stays that way, we're going to have a really fierce fight to the end of this championship at Indianapolis next time out.
I think it's going to be an interesting battle amongst them today to keep an eye on, as here's Weston right now, one of the drivers towards the bottom half of the pylon. Just 0.2 the difference between being in the top 10 and being in 17th. That says a lot on how close this field is here today, but for Ben, no change.
No change. And let's have a look at your provisional results here. Still a possibility for someone to sneak in here right at the end and steal one away, but I don't think that's going to happen. And it's Michael Yanni on pole by 97 one-thousandths of a second. The Michael and Michael show will continue here, Justin, at Barber Motorsports Park.
Outright domination between these two throughout the speed they've showcased this season. Now it's the matter of seeing how they play it out here at Barber. Paul Darling also good at qualifying. Jason Landry, he wasn't able to improve in those fours, but a lot of people qualified within 2-3 tenths of each other. That mid-pack is going to be laser tight, where if there's a slip-up, it's going to be hard to recover because everyone's so on top of each other on pace.
Cannot wait to get this started. Checkered is out officially. The session is over, and we're going racing here in just a moment's time. 60 minutes for Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League. Race 6 here at Barber Motorsports Park. One last time, let's have a look at the Continental Track preview. 15 turns around here, 2.3 miles, and it's all about where you make your passes, where you have to fall in line. Turns 9 and 10, turns 11 and 12, that's single file territory. But going into 5, going into 1, going into 15, maybe you can find some overlap and make a pass, or even down into the corkscrew there at turn number 7 and 8.
And a lot of opportunities as a result there. Turn 1, I can see drivers getting brave to set things up for turn 2. That run up to turn 5, the hairpin, as you talked about, going to be one of the prime opportunities. It won't be until you get to turn 11 because of some of the straightaways to be able to try something. That front straightaway going to be the place to circle things, though. Will anybody be able to build up a run to be able to get alongside for the front stretch? We'll see during the racing today as they get themselves towards the starting grid.
And one last look at our weather tells us it's about 43 degrees Celsius, so no real changing conditions. I think the rain is going to stave off for us and keep us in a dry race today. But let's have a look at our starting lineup, and on the front row, it's Michael Yanni, Michael Polasek, the championship leaders, still battling for the title, and they have this round and one more before they will wrap things up. Paul Darling and Jason Landry make up that second row in the number 55 and 5 cars, and it's Andre Castro, third in the championship, and Kevin Rold, a strong qualifying effort for him, will roll off in 6th. Chris Severt in the number 39, and Matt Best, strong qualifying efforts for them too. Best in his Texas Speed Sim Racing car starts 8th, and Weston Workman and Blake Townend, Justin, make up your 5th row.
Joshua Soto will start off in 11th in the 10 car. Cameron Martineau starts back there in 12th spot. Ethan Gouart starts off 13th. The 15-year-old will start alongside Yanni Lin. Then Logan McKenzie. He starts off 15th with Devin Anderson back there in the 220 car. Holstein will start off in 17th. Chris Wentz will try and see if he can plow his way to the field of the ERA car in 18th. Nick Yanni will start off 19th, just a couple tenths off his brother. Andrew Sharp starts back in 20th.
Jordan Rick Segrini rolls off 21st in the BSI Racing car. Nick Sudik in the 87 for AAIR with Team Watson Racing starts 22nd. Nate Stewart trying to recover after the tail end of the Road America race, rolls off 23rd. Miguel Colon makes his return to the championship in 24th. Mauricio Lozano starts in 25th. Micah Hendricks in 26th, and Matt Adams will wrap up our 27-car grid here today. We're about ready to go racing from Barber Motorsports Park. Tune in next week on GT World to watch and listen to Toyota GR Cup North America's penultimate round of the season. It'll be myself and DJ Clark on the call. We're so excited to head to Birmingham, Alabama. And it's a racetrack I've never been to before, but just like the racing drivers, commentators are going to head to the track a week early in iRacing. Justin Prince alongside me. I'm Kyle Heyer. And at the end of this pace lap, Justin, we go racing for 60 minutes. And the other thing to note, a lot of laps around here because the lap time is so short.
Yeah, going to be a lot more times to circulate around, with it being a minute 36, minute 37 seconds on the average. It's going to go to where you have to have a lot of opportunities to be able to make passes. It's going to be an extra minute or two really to work on things, in theory, when you add things up, so to speak, in the head of mind in terms of laps. It's going to be interesting where we end up on the lap counter. Estimates looking like around 38 laps today.
It's a lot of laps. That's a lot of opportunities to move forward. Will there be trouble at the front between Michael Yanni and Michael Polasek? They have fought tooth and nail all season long. With 2 races to go, 2 hours of racing remaining in the season as they head up through turns 13 and 14 and into 15. Wrap up the pace lap here. Well, Paul Darling sitting right behind the 2 juggernauts of this series that have put on a show so far. Thanks for joining us here for iRacing and Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League action. It's about ready to go green. They can start accelerating once they reach the end of the curb on the outside. Michael Yanni is the car in command. And green flag, we're racing in Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League. Round 6 from Barber Motorsports Park. Yanni clears Polasek into turn 1, and the 55 and 5 are side by side through the opening corner.
Already seeing some squabbling as they go to the first right-hander on the racetrack. Andre Castro trying to make up ground on the inside. So far, clean start for the field. No major troubles up at the front of the field. No major troubles mid-pack as they try and sort themselves out. Best trying to sort itself on the outside. Chris Severn trying to hold on inside.
A little check-up there, contact between the Tech Sport Racing teammates. That was the Ethan Goulart car getting contact from Devin Anderson, but they sorted out. The 41 of Ben Blauski is absolutely sandwiched right now between the 14 of McKenzie, and to the outside there is the 71 of Wetz, I believe. But into the corkscrew for the first time, and Paul Darling under fire from Castro.
A lot of defensive maneuvers right now, especially from Wetz to that mid-pack. Nick Yanni making up a couple positions up there in the tight corner. Finds the corner, but outside of that, right now, everyone trying to get single. Whoa, somebody got jetted out. Severed all the way to the grass.
Takes to the grass. He'll keep the car straight and back on course, but he's to the inside of Weston Workman, who's trying to maintain 8th place, and he will. That's a strong move there as Blake Townend looks for some racing room, but can't keep the momentum up. That leaves him vulnerable to the inside as Cameron Martineau slides down the inside into turn 14, trying to make that 38 car move forward.
Trying to take advantage of a poor qualifying run. Mid-pack for him. Just couldn't get the squeeze back, though, to be able to make the move, it looks like, on Townend. Good traction to be able to keep things settled in, though, without sliding off the racetrack as we get into the thick of the race now. That a lot of the elbows started coming out to start off.
What we've seen so far this year is that the real world tends to race a lot like the simulator does. Cars kind of end up in groups drafting together, but without a lot of opportunity to draft here. What will this race look like? We're going to find out a week ahead of the real series as we head back to turn 5 again. Now, we mentioned the Blake Townend car under fire from Cameron Martineau. Here's how this happens here as they come up through turn 12. The 39 is going to run out wide. It's going to open the door, and then Martineau sees this gap and jams that 38 down the inside. What a move there.
Bit of a bold move, but it's the start of the race. One of your prime opportunities to make passes. You have to be bold if you want to be able to make things work around here. Right now, Workman trying to hold on in terms of this battle with Severn, but Chris able to get the elbows out and hold firm despite Workman's squeeze attempts.
And then Martineau to the outside of Townend again. Are they going to go door to door here? No, he tucks back in line. Like I said, you can run through there side by side. There's enough space on the racetrack to do it, but you have to give up a little bit of cornering speed. Even Townend lifts. You don't want to go door to door down here. Carry some momentum, get back on throttle sooner, and make the attack later. Townend learned from last lap.
Yeah, seems to be trying to just get back into a rhythm. Just try and settle back down in this race. Don't push those Continental tires. Don't fry the Continental tires in this race. Just stay cool. Stay composed. Unless you get pressurized from behind, obviously he doesn't want to fall back worse than 10th right now, because anything worse, and you have a full train of cars ready to take advantage. Speaking of train, a lot of people trying to jump up the queue.
Sudik defending from Miguel Colon. Micah Hendricks just went by him. And Mauricio Lozano drops to the tail of the field. Everyone's still covered by about 11 seconds, even despite the 27-car field fanning out. Matt Adams is up to 23rd, so he's racing a little better than he qualified. It's a long way to go to the front. Here's Colon, and look up ahead, Andrew Sharp, the 48, Rick Segrini, and Nate Stewart.
Just all trying to sort themselves out right now, it looks like. But again, Rick Segrini has that line, just playing defensive right now after the move with Sharp. Stewart, no surprise seeing him aggressive in the backdrop, though. He's right now got to be feeling very disappointed on how he didn't qualify. Didn't look to be the proper run for him. We expect a lot more from Stewart.
Through the S's here, and the commitment that the tail end of this lap requires, how line sensitive this part is. This is really where you separate the wheat from the chaff here. And Polasek, look at how focused he is, absolutely lasered in on the tailpipes of Michael Yanni. He's leading the championship by 53 points, Justin, but that doesn't mean he can rest. He's got to keep Yanni behind him, or at least in sight.
It keeps things much easier if you're in front of him, right? You outscore points on him, build up some separation. That's going to make things a little bit more easier than losing ground on a racetrack like this. I don't think he's panicking. Same we said for Yanni. So you check the back and forth with the cameras. They're just trying to stay in a rhythm. Just trying to keep it afloat. They know that right now Yanni's got the advantage with the cleaner. It's not necessarily a drafting track, so it's going to be difficult for Polasek to close up a gap like this unless he sends it deep in the brakes like he's trying to.
About half a second gap between those two at the moment. And Jason Landry in that 5, lingering back there. So is Paul Darling, so is Andre Castro. You wonder, with the tire wear that we could expect to see over the course of this race, we run a little longer than the real series does. Those are 45-minute races. These are 60. Is tire conservation going, or at least temperature management, going to factor into this race, or you might have what we would call a comer and goer, where you come up to the front and then you go back to the back once you burn your stuff up? Could that be in the conversation for some of these drivers driving hard right now?
I think it could be, because the best on the platform are the ones who limit fall off in general. Like, we're talking a few tenths to maybe a second fall off at best for some of the best over the course of an hour run. A lot of people who don't have that tire saving craft will end up pushing to the field, as you say, or trying to push just to be able to keep up. And then they fry the tires for the final 30 minutes, and then you see them slide back. You see them slide back on the pylon. See the intervals really start to stretch out. That's where your big difference maker is, in my opinion, for later on today. It's going to be the best are going to limit that tire fall off for the final 30 minutes. Those who aren't in the same grasp of it are going to fall back and start dropping back in the final 30.
Damage on the nose of Ethan Goulart. Got involved in a stack-up on the opening lap into turn 5. I don't think it's hurting the car all that much, but I'd rather not have any damage on the nose. Keep your car as pretty as possible. Here's Weston Workman and Cameron Martineau. Workman, this will be the second spot he drops if he loses this position to the 38.
Workman obviously doesn't want to drop back anything more. It so far has not been the greatest of first few minutes for Workman. He's been under attack by everybody. and we've seen the aggression just trying to hold on to spots come into play. Some side-by-side in front of them, as you see, though, with Matt Best. Chris Severt, he's keeping his progression of the field. Oh, a bit of a slide to the grass for a moment.
And Townend went for a gap that was closing. He got the nose to the inside, and he might make this pass, and he's going to spin and take out the 38 with him.
That was not smart. That was not smart from Townend. Looked to try and set it deep to pass Best, and just so happened to clip Christopher Severt, who is trying to get into the defensive line while also making sure he made the next corner. That's allowed Best to hold on for 7th, and they are losing the main pack from all this.
That was my mistake. That was 39, as you mentioned, Severt versus the 38. Let's go back and have a look at this again. And the 57 opened the door here, right here. He's going to see this opportunity. Boom, gets the car to the inside, and then has to make this lunge to squeeze in this gap between the 39 and the 101 right here. But he's going to tag the 39 in the tailpipes, and they both go for a pretty wild slide. And Severt did get it low down before he caught the wall, but now dead last on the racetrack.
Gonna be happy down in 26 as well, just a few tenths in front of him. And they're gonna be back there, both very upset with one another, to say the least. Workman, he's not done in terms of trying to fight here. Obviously not thinking big picture to be able to keep up with Kevin Roll, the next car in the packs. Workman just wants to be able to be as high up as he can in this running order.
Yeah, he's not eligible for any prizing or championship money or anything because he's one of those real-world competitors. So he's got a different goal, and it's just to learn and to race and to get a win, right? So his goals might be different than Matt Best or Cameron Martineau, who are in this for more than just the position on the day. But they're stacking up here behind this 101, and here comes Martineau to the outside. We just saw last lap that door-to-door won't work down here.
Workman trying to be careful on the braking as well. Martineau gave a lot more space than the last time in the sequence. Soto's just watching over the popcorn seat, wondering when's my time to be able to pop on through, especially since now you have Martineau nearly running to the back of Workman with how some of these checkups are starting to flare up.
And, you know, this is sort of what we would expect to see here because it is challenging to pass at this racetrack, so you get a lot of single file where people are just trying to find overlap. As Wanshi Lin has a look at Soto, and as soon as you start backing up one car, now you've got a line of 5 or 6, and everyone feels like they've got an opportunity to make up ground. Nate Stewart looking to the inside of Jordan Rick-Segrini here for 17th place.
Good moving to the field so far for Stewart, up 5 spots, one of your bigger movers, in fact, for this field. One of the drivers with the NASCAR experience we touched upon throughout these broadcasts this season. So far, just trying to pick his spots, and I think that's the main thing. He's looking a lot better in the race than he was in qualifying. He seems to have been able to settle on down after the poor run in quality.
Into the corkscrew. Workman defending from Martineau. Here's Andrew Sharp on the outside of Blaustein in the 41. They'll sort that out as Goulart and Anderson, teammates, trading positions here, and the 220 of Anderson will move through. They'll do a little door-by-door action here. McKenzie trying to figure out which of the 2 red tech sport cars is going to go forward, and it's Goulart.
Goulart doing very well so far. Now that the racing situations seems to be in good spirits, seems to be in good rhythm, seems to be not making too many major mistakes. Despite the damage, doesn't seem to be hurting either.
A bit of a scrum back here for about 15th place with Rick-Segrini and Chris Wetz. Team Era car teammates, 2 Andre Castro up in P5. There's Stewart and Nick Yanni. No further action on the 57 and 39. I have to imagine that either there was enough apologies given that there was no need to issue a penalty, or the other thing is that they're both just kind of self-penalized. So for 57, drive-through would just make you 1 position more than last, or better than last. So I don't know if it really makes a lot of sense, but either way, we'll keep racing. The 17 to the inside of Nakyani, and Micah Hendricks has a perspective on it.
Hendricks so far up 6 from his 26 starting spot. He hasn't had some luck fall his way this race, or rather this season really at times, I will say, for Hendricks. Looking at Workman though, again, just trying to play both the lines against each other. Best and Martineau fighting tooth and nail at this. They are now 5+ seconds back of the lead pack as Workman mows the grass.
Just trimming the the weeds there a little bit on the exit of the curbing. He got by Matt Best. Saw that 101, a bit of a cork in the bottle. Now with him dispatched, it'll leave Cameron Martineau to try to get back by the 101. Big commitment down here at this end of the racetrack. You're using the aerodynamics here on these cars. They don't have a ton. They do have some aero, though. Martineau doing what he did on the opening lap, jamming the car down the inside of the 38. Big slip there in turn 14. He can't get it rotated, and he will stay P9 for now.
Made a bit of contact, I think, to the door, actually, trying to send it up that inside. Again, right here, just had to go back off the brakes. Just teamed him a little bit off the door, nearly turned him around. Good car control by Martineau to make sure he didn't loop around by hitting off the best door.
Yeah, quick thinking there. And he'll live to see another day. Josh Soto in this number 10, creeping forward and right into this mix. This 10 car's fast. He was at Road America as well. Kind of got buried in a second pack that took most of the race to claw back position, but he's got pace today. Last lap around was a 138.5. Quick enough to be at that pointy end of this group.
El Soto is very good when it comes to these times of races on the sim, and so far, just been boxed in. He wants to go, but the problem is, it's too early to go 3 wide, obviously, and these drivers in front of him are fighting so hard, it's not leaving him any holes. Martineau gets in the best door to clear himself.
And Soto turns right on exit. Try to get overlap there. They're staggered like fighter jets leaving turn 7 and 8. And Best, I think, is going to wash out here. That should give Soto the opportunity, but where do you go? What do? You have to sit on it here, unless you're going to be like Wan Shi Lin and go to driver's right. Maybe Goulart goes left. He stays put for now.
Good defense back, but here comes an air launch. Lin getting very bold to the inside, nearly bounced off of him. That's allowed Goulart and everybody else to close right back on in. It's become a hornet's nest.
I'll say, look at this. That's the cars in the background here, all battling for 15th, 16th, 17th place. Fighting tooth and nail in the first quarter of this one. Micah Hendricks pops out of line. No, he does not. Nick Yanni pops out of line. This is great stuff.
Everybody's saying this is a great chance to be able to leapfrog. Why not? Seeing right now some side-by-side breakout with Nick Yanni. Not on the preferred groove. Micah Hendricks just getting the crowbar out and peeling his way right on by.
This has been fun to watch, hasn't it? Let's see if the 43 can do much with it. Just up the road, Ethan Goulart is on the outside of Wan Shi Lin into 5. This is a tough place to be. Oh, the 4 sailed it down in there into 5. Was there contact there?
So apologies over the radio from that. It looks like he bounced off the door, in fact, of McKenzie. Just sent it way too hard and used a lot of those Alcon brakes to be able to send it.
Braking zones in this car are so short. Oh, the 18's going to get turned. Drick Signorini goes for a slide at the corkscrew into the gravel. And he'll get back rolling, but dead last.
That's the risk of going side by side up in that corkscrew section. We've seen it all day today. We've seen it a bit from Workman this time. Matt Adams not backing down, was committed to the send, was able to get alongside for the entry of the corner, try to give a bit of a squeeze, and then they just become glued.
Yeah, it's tough there for Jordan Rick Signorini there. I don't know that anyone really did much wrong there, just going for the same part of the racetrack at the same time. But this is a lonely feeling. He's going to quickly catch back up to this group, though, because of how hard they are fighting. They are fighting hard.
Fighting aggressively in this pack all throughout this race already. Andrew Sharp, so far, seems to be just staying patient in the line right now. Not much he can really do. But Nick Yanni, he's going to be back on the aggressive. He's got the wiper blades going out. He wants to be so aggressive.
Try to push some of that air out of the way, right? I mean, just try to eke out. He has not been able to go anywhere, and you have to wonder if Yanni is just pacing himself, because Polasek is not. I don't think there's a lot of advantage for Polasek to lead this race, to be honest. Right now, he'll lead it later probably, but you know, if you can sit right here and keep your prey right on in the crosshairs, I think you're in a great spot. And it really is a 6-car breakaway. It's 8 seconds after Kevin rolled back to Weston Workman and everybody else.
Yeah, there's no reason for it to be uber aggressive for the race lead right now, as you just said, because Small should keep it in the range. battle. That didn't get messaged down to 8th on back, obviously, in this race. 7th on back, I should say. They've been just that aggressive all race. No further actions coming in once again, involving some of the drivers. But right now, just that second pack essentially has basically almost laid its hands down and saying, we'd rather fight for positions now. What's going on for the race lead? I don't care. I want to send it inside of the 14.
Yeah, Matt Adams saw the door open, and that was a beautifully executed pass there. Just kept the line a little tighter, the inside, and snuck that purple 17 alongside Chris Wetz, and Wetz didn't fight it too much. He'll end up P18 at the moment. So there's a number of distinct packs at the moment. The largest is this one for 17th on back, where there's less than 0.3 of a second between about 10 cars.
Not surprised that Adams is making the inroads he is. He's up to 17 now, by the way, but he's been quicker than some of the battles like this one. He's been quick all throughout the year. He's got the pace to be able to get top 10, I think, especially with how close the pack is. But some of these in front of him getting uber defensive, like Devin Anderson, just having to play the defensive line, compromise to run up to the corkscrew, just to prevent somebody from lunging and taking away that inside line right now.
His teammate Ethan Goulart is just up the road there in the 72 car, chasing Wan Shi Lin. Now, they've got another few cars that they can try to pass, including Cameron Martineau and Wesley Workman, who I think are sick of each other at this point. But then it's nearly 9 seconds to the front 6. So you're battling for 7th right now. I don't know that those leaders will ever give you a chance to catch back up at this stage. So it's a battle for the best of the rest, I think, unfortunately for these drivers back here. But points are points.
Points are points. Well, Workman, it's not. But
correct.
everybody else, points are absolutely on the line. Points positions on the line entering the finale. Why not try and battle it out as much as you can? Martineau seems to have gone to a bit of a save pattern right now. Instead of launching it up toward 1, for example, just waiting for the right chance to launch it again. Because we've already seen how disastrous several of these launches have been so far for this pack.
Up over the crest there, leaving turn 4. And I wonder if these 4 will start to work together as best they can. Anderson's on defense pretty fiercely back here with McKinsey, Stewart, and Micah Hendricks. But I think Workman, Martineau, Best, Soto, they're losing ground to those leaders, but, you know, if they fight, they're just going to end up getting tangled with this next group. So I think your best bet is a little competition at the moment.
Competition, indeed. And the thing is, I don't think a lot of people have been doing that so far since the start.
What would make you think that, Justin?
yeah, especially with a lot of side-by-side. Oh, that's not competition at all. That's people trying to push off. That's Blake Townend, who's been able to reel in all these drivers, by the way, making some contact. Christopher Severt making some contact back.
Yeah, this is getting a little spicy back here, and this is a group of drivers that is going to be frustrated with how their day has gone so far, but still 38 minutes left to go, so you've got to salvage something. Let's go back and have a look at what prompted this little scuffle. They were side-by-side heading down the backstretch, and Cologne was defending from the 57. My bet is that they went down here side-by-side and didn't come out that way.
Just hit a lot of the curbing. Yeah, Cologne just said, I've got to come over. Tried not to take the off track, and Townend and Cologne just get glued together. 3 wide offset.
Oh, that was dicey through the opening corner there between the 4 and the 71 and the 41. This is not a racetrack that I think 3 wide is quick at. Road America, you get away with it for a little stint here and there, but this is such a flowing circuit, and it's so line sensitive. Sharp, Nick Yanni. Big lunge from the 43 back here. Get overlap on the 48.
This is a uber aggressive pack, as you said. A lot of these drivers right now, I think at this point, their patience meter's gone, and that's not a good thing with 40 minutes to go. Less than 40 minutes to go, in fact. You drive with red mist around here, or at any major track, you're in for a lot of incident points. And I will say this, Nicholas Sudik doing a good job being able to get out of the way of the fight. He has had zero luck this season, Nicholas has. Every time I've seen him have a good run, he just seems to have a car land on top of him.
Yeah, it's been a tough year for the 87, but I like Uber Aggressive. Got Uber X, Uber Premium, Uber Aggressive. That'll get you there even faster, or at least across all the lanes of traffic as the field heads back onto the front straightaway here. A little bit of side-by-side between Adams and Micah Hendricks for a moment. And now there is some other warnings coming into race control. And it was for the 21 for triggering that contact. And interestingly, there was a second warning given that was for the 57 making contact with the 21. So both drivers getting a slap on the wrist for that argy-bargy situation there.
Just keep on racing. Be aware of the warning, obviously. A lot of side-by-side building up yet again among some of these drivers, and some of the teammates getting a little bit aggressive, trying to find a way to get around Devin Anderson. They're really getting bundled up behind Anderson now.
See Anderson there with his Fanatec logos. He's got Fanatec gear driving all this, but he has got it in an interesting predicament right now, defending from McKenzie and Hendricks. You mentioned the teammates in tow. It's 1.6 seconds up to his teammate, Ethan Goulart, in the other Tech Sport car. And his focus right now appears to be in the rearview mirror.
And I think the camera got shuffled down. That's how much motion there's been today. You can tell kind of with the focus, he's just trying to drive along. He makes near contact again. He is not afraid to pinch things off at the last minute. McKenzie's saying enough's enough. Give me the spot.
Yeah, Anderson turned in there and just trusted that McKenzie would back out, which he did, but then Anderson ran wide at the exit of 13, so it opened the door for McKenzie. Micah Hendricks got a little hip check there, and Adams is going to take advantage of that and drive on through. Headlights flashing there. I don't think Hendricks was stoked about that.
Yeah, Hendricks, I don't think is stoked about the squeeze either right now with Adams. But Adams, I think, is, again, faster than these drivers. We touched upon this a few laps ago. He's been able to fly through this pack for a reason. He's got enough speed just to be able to keep it side by side and compromise the lines.
And if he can keep this overlap here into 5, which he's going to do, this is a great passing opportunity. It's a long left-hand corner, gets it tucked to the apex, back on throttle a little sooner. Now you've got to clear that car to your right, which he isn't going to do, so they're going to still be like this when we get down to turn 7, and they're 3 wide back here, aren't they?
Offset, it looks like, once again, some drivers backing out. Good give and take, though. No, Hendricks said, I'm going to give the give, and then I'm going to take the throttle and just power on by. Good setup on the throttle to be able to defend that from Adams.
Into the S's now. See if Adams has any response to it or if he can set him up. This is a great section of racetrack, this upcoming sector, because you can fake someone out to one side, get him to defend something that they shouldn't defend, and they can wash out wide. Little earlier turn in for Adams. Took a chunk of curb there, too much curb, and washes out into the grass.
You know, he spun the car out, in fact. Good drift on that by Adams. Again, car control. This is exactly what you're talking about. Just hit too much curb and just started to yacht out while he was in the grass and flinging it on back straight, and now needs to cool down the tires for a moment.
Fun to watch for that moment, but definitely cost him just a little bit of time. Andre Castro, Paul Darling, Landry, Polasek, Yanni, they've all been coordinating and cooperating, I would say, well, with 27 minutes down and 33 to go. You just wonder when they're going to light the fuse on this battle.
I think the fuse will be lit sometime around 5 minutes to go, maybe 6. It's still a few minutes out from that, obviously, but they're in good position. That's all you can really say is, do you want to risk it by being too aggressive this early? It'll lead to a lot of frustration by them if it doesn't work out. Some of the others, well, you're seeing the aggression still pretty high back here. A lot of people going side by side yet again, such as Nick Yanni trying to hold off Blake Townend's recovery drive.
Yeah, this is one of these racetracks that it's clear to me now that you can race pretty aggressively here. You can make passes. Now, I always find that often racetracks will race differently on TV camera view versus in the cockpit. I think a lot of the drivers will tell us later that it was really hard to set up a pass or it's really challenging to overtake, and I think that's true, but from our perspective, Justin, we have seen so much movement and so many mistakes that turn into losing 5, 6, 7 spots. You can gain a lot of spots, it just requires a mistake, and how you get a driver to make a mistake ahead of you, that is all part of the skill and strategy that we see employed here tonight.
A lot of planning too, to be able to set things up properly. Goes to the mind, and we're seeing some of the people, the plot is, oh, I want to make a move, send a move. And we've seen how that's worked out in some circumstances. That's caused things to really separate out in some of these packs. Others starting to go here up front. Andre Castro, one of those we've seen be aggressive at some points by this mark, saying, I want to leapfrog.
Yeah, Castro trying to get around Paul Darling. We'll see if Paul gives it to him. A little later on the brakes for the 55. They're going to leave each other plenty of space. Maybe a little touch there at the apex. Castro earlier on throttle, but Darling has the short way around, and they're losing ground. 1 second lost already to Landry. So will Darling give this up and tuck back in line? He's going to have to. Tough math there. And Rold's going to also grab a spot here.
Try to at least. A little bit of deigning of contact there. Rolled. More momentum. Just has to give it up. And there's the give and take that we expect from Darling. But now it's going to take a few laps for them to regroup. Castro really pushing extra hard into the grass just to be able to keep up here and try and hope, get even a sniff of draft to even hope. That's going to play a bit of a difference maker. It's going to take a few laps for them to regroup.
Well, Andre Castro has had a number of solid finishes this season. He's third in the championship standings. Now, the opening round back at Sonoma, he was on the podium with a second. When we went to Coda, he finished third right behind, guess who? Michael Yanni and Michael Polasek. He had a 7th at Sebring and a 5th at VIR. The only real bad finish he had was at Road America last time out. So let's not count him out, as this battle has exploded again on the front straightaway. Matt Adams, Devin Anderson, and then there's still more side-by-side in the rear view of these two.
Near contact as well off of Anderson. Adams doing a fine job to be able to fly through this field. Same for Hendricks. They have each gone up about 12 spots in this race. Looks like Gord is now being hounded by the pack. He has fallen back into range to be under attack.
Oh, big send from the 73 of Hendricks down here at turn 5. This is really where I think you're going to feel like Superman in these GR Cup cars. They've got such good brakes. That Continental tire offers so much grip, and you're only slowing down about 2,800 pounds, which, again, considering this car is relatively stock, other than having a roll cage, some safety components, and a few performance components, is a pretty lightweight car as far as kind of touring cars are concerned. So slowing this thing down doesn't take a lot of time. You can be aggressive late to the pedal, but it doesn't leave you a lot of opportunity for mistakes. If you miss your braking point by 3 feet, you're going to miss the apex by 10.
We're seeing a lot of people just missing parts of these apexes enough to open up the doors. Great recovery for Townend. That's a little bit dicey from Yanni, trying to follow Townend through the door. Instead, door wanted to be slammed shut. Christopher Severn nearly contact from behind by the 8 car.
Opens the door to the inside and crash ahead of him. It's Micah Hendricks in the 73. He'll get back on course, try to salvage the spots that he can. Rick Segrini's back in this after getting tangled in the gravel a little while ago. Let's see what happened to Hendricks.
Don't think it had anything to do with Adams here, because he was along the outside, and then I think he hit the car in front. Yeah, might have checked him up a little bit. Can't tell if it was that or through a gear shift. That was off of Goulart. There was some checkup effects there with that section where Goulart tries to keep it a little bit more safe for that section.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Just got into the back of Goulart and it kind of walked the rear end around for him, unfortunately. Not what he needed. And drops him to P25. And this has really been a revolving door back here of those that get tangled up. The entire field is still running. Well, you just said that.
There goes Sharp with some contact, and I think Andrew Sharp's going to park it from that. Just got absolutely turned around from behind, and that hit right there with Cologne. Enough for Sharp to say enough's enough.
That's what I get for saying everyone was still running, but they were until a minute ago. And everyone's still kind of together. There's no one that's really on their own. But Sharp is going to be out of this one, the first retirement of this race. 33 minutes in, 27 minutes to go, and there's your front three. Jason Landry has put some more distance between himself and Andre Castro, and he's riding a bit of a wave, isn't he? I think he's lingering here with these Michaels get fighting up front.
One of his better races of the season that comes to memory right now for Landry. Just able to keep up, keep things assured, keep things patient. He's had a couple top fives after all in the season. Finished second at Road America. He was in the conversation last time out. But remember, he started off with a slow start to the season. 34th at Sonoma after being a top 10 qualifier. Had a bit of a rough one at Sebring. Didn't have too much appearances in the top 10. Finished 12th, in fact. But since then, has had a decent flow of things on the dry tracks.
Yeah, I think he's starting to kind of get it sorted out, and I think the momentum out of Road America, that gives you a lot of confidence that you're doing what you should be doing in the car. And I think the drivers that might not take advantage of the practices with their competitors beforehand, when they show up, you don't really know what their benchmark is. And when you can go out to Road America and perform like that, it's not like you're magically going to not be good the next week, right? You're going to be pretty quick regardless. So now that he's found his footing and some confidence, and he's chasing the two championship leaders that have something else on their mind, I wouldn't count 5 out to the very end of this thing, as Wesson Workman, 7th place, has got a bit of a force starting to push from behind.
Cameron Martineau yet again trying to provide a little more pressure. We've seen this before. They've kind of turned down the aggression, I will say, in this pack since the last time we've really seen them. And that's allowed Workman to really push aside. It looks like Best and everybody else is saying something's up with Martineau's tires. We may as well go.
Best down to the inside here. It's going to be tough math. Now in the inside for turn 2. This is a long corner here, and Soto's going to see the opportunity to tuck under here. Throttle back on, but then the challenge here is the next turn's a left. So do you wait and sling over, or do you stay to driver's right? He's going to pop back in line, and he'll make that decision later.
Well, I think, again, you need to be on the inside to be able to truly make the pass, because at this point right here, Joshua Soto has the chance to be able to leapfrog as a result of that wraparound, though. Can he be able to keep it side by side for the corkscrew?
This has been the trouble spot today as the track funnels you down. Best isn't going to back out, neither will Soto, but again, space is left there. Now on Lin, the 10's going to be slow, and he'll pull up alongside. Just didn't get through the gears quite quick enough.
Not quite, but Soto, I think, again, kind of showed his hand there. He wants to go, but also doesn't want to go too late to where it compromises his corner or puts him up for grabs now for Lin. Because if it puts him up for Lin, then what's the point of the initial pass? Oh, they are all taking the off tracks.
If they added pavement there, I promise you they'd use it. It's one of those places where you just want to unwind the wheel and carry a little more speed than you can. Battle inside the top 10 here, though, as we approach the last 20 or so minutes of racing. It has been too quiet up front, I will tell you that. Michael Yanni clinically going after it. His season has been first, second, 29th. So he would like to add back to that list of podiums today.
And I think he hasn't really made a mistake, hasn't put a tire off the track. He's just been calm. Looks like we have our first penalty, though.
Yeah, it's going to be relatively inconsequential. It was lap 20, turn 5. There was the 73 of Micah Hendricks got into another car, and that was a 10-second penalty, but the retirement has already happened for the 73, so that will likely be served at the next round or not at all. It was the 48 car that he got in. Oh, that was the incident that took the 48 out.
Yeah, now that sees both of them out of the race, actually, because Hendricks just parked it right. So, oh, it looks like a lot of pushing and shoving again. Nick Yanni's group starting to get a little bit elbowy. Chris Wentz now taking advantage to take a spot. Christopher Severt, he's right now boxed in behind things. Townends ran away. Chris has not been able to pass these cars.
Yeah, and when you start to build pressure like this, it's like shaking a champagne bottle with the cork still in it. It's at some point, it's got to burst. And really, who is the cork at the moment? I mean, we've seen a couple drivers break away from this. I mean, wasn't Matt Adams part of this group a little while ago, and Nate Stewart too? They've all driven up the road. Well, they're behind Devin Anderson at the moment. It's about a 5-car group. Anderson, Yanni, Wetz, Blaustein, and Severt in the 39 right at the tail there.
Yeah, they've all stayed very aggressive all this race. I feel like I keep repeating it because that's been the kind of case. Now Anderson is now to the point where he's got damage from all the defense maneuvers. Nick Yanni's got right side damage to the front end. And now they're nearly adding damage again to each other's cars.
Yeah, that's tight quarters racing here. And look at the 39 carrying some big momentum up the back straightaway. And they're going to fly formation down here into 5. Who's later on the brakes? Latest of the late breakers. And Yanni's going to actually grab the spot from Anderson. And now Wetz is alongside of them. Blaustein and Severt in trail there, trying to get themselves sorted out.
And at this point, some people are in the midst of nearly go time. You still have about 13 laps estimated to go. Not expecting the go time for the lead pack, but you see Yanni just laser focused. He is cool as a cucumber. Polasek, he's kind of in the same boat, just chatting with teammates, making sure the communications are there. Keep an eye on everything, make sure he's aware of everything that needs to be talked about, make sure of what needs to be done to get this race finished well.
Well, I can tell you this. Polasek and Landry just ran their best laps of the race, and Yanni was only 2 1,000ths off of his best lap, so they are running as fast as they have gone all day long, trailing behind this 92. I don't really have much of a concept of how at the limit Yanni or Polasek are, but I don't think it's going to be like flipping a switch and Polasek's all over him. It's going to take a little bit of effort, even for a guy as good as him. So you can't leave yourself with only a lap or 2. You might need 3, you might need 4 to set up a pass and go. But I don't think you get infinite freedom there. The 5's right there, and he's ready to pounce on either of them.
Exactly, and that's going to be where it's almost like a Joshua Soto situation, in my opinion, though, where you see a lot of the battling. You want to go, but there's no place to go. Same for places to go. Chris Wentz trying to go. Christopher Severt at least had a door open up for him to go, but Anderson is getting to where everybody's ready to get the elbows out to try and move him along and move aside on the pylon.
41 wisely backs out. Wetz charges in there a little hot, but gets it woed down and actually back on throttle pretty quickly. I thought he'd have to defend on exit, but he actually got to the bumper of the 220 faster than I thought he could have. Bouncing over the curbs. This is all for 18th place, and you've used the magic word aggressive all night long, but how else do you describe this? Tooth and nail for 18th place, scrapping for the last couple points on the board.
Chaotic? Is that a way to describe it right now? Because that's controlled chaos is another way you can phrase it. There's a lot of ways you can put it together, but Anderson, every corner has just continuously played defensive line, defensive line, defensive line. There's not much you can really say other than what do you expect in terms of some of the aggression for the others when you basically are almost putting up a brick wall on how you're trying to play this racing line.
Ooh, see Sudik run a little wide there. I think what's interesting to me is that we've spent most of this race watching battles outside of the top 10 as we do jump to one inside the top 10. Soto and Best here having a scrap, but we haven't looked a lot at those top 5 because they're all playing a game, and once that game starts to reach its final moves, we'll take you to the front. But I bet that the front of this race is going to look a lot like this stuff in about 15 minutes.
Oh, that's a little bit of the elbows out there, but the elbows are out still with the pack. Nearly Christopher Severt trying to make some moves. Severt stayed on the power.
Oh.
Still have a lot of others trying to saw each other off. Yanni Lin got sawed off.
I'll tell you, I mean, absolutely. That's a great way to describe that. Like he's got a sawtooth blade just taking the front of that Toyota GR86 off, leaving the S's. And Lin is One spot shy of a top 10. Best drifts out. You see the yaw on that car as he tried to get it rotated back to the apex. Battle still on as you see Martineau and Workman just ahead. And that might be all they can get is 7th place, but it will be a fierce battle all the way to the end. And we're back side by side here too as well.
Looks like Christopher's finally found a way around all this, though. Expect him to start to try to reel in Nick Yanni with his damage right now, but who's going to be the next to jump up the queue? Good recovery from Townend. He's nearly exactly where he was before. Here comes some more moves. Kevin Rold trying to go.
I was not expecting this. Rold was just clinging to 6th place earlier. And then Castro passed Starling, and I thought that would be, Castro's opportunity to move forward, but now Rold is on offense here, and they've lost too much time to the front runners, I think, to be in consideration for the race win unless the front 3 tangled. So they made this a 6-car race into 2 separate battles with 3.
At this point, no chance they get up to the podium unless something chaotic happens right now. So Kevin Rold's like, I think right now Kevin Rold is just taking the spots where they come. Everybody is trying to take spots from Anderson, meanwhile. Everybody, and I mean everybody, is just absolutely trying to fly on by him, but no one's willing to take him 3 wide.
How do you? I mean, this is this flat out section here through the S's. It's hard enough when you're single file to go through there flat, even in a car with about 230 horsepower as opposed to a GT, but 2x2 here into the tail end of the S's. Math gets hard. Look at Chris Wetz using every ounce of curbing he can use. Headlights flashing on Nick Sudik. Elbows out.
Oh, and Blaustein getting a little bit of the elbows out himself. They're starting a late arc, Anderson. And when you get to that point of late arcs, with how tight this contact's now getting, as Anderson has to let everybody go. Oh, black flag, Anderson.
Ooh, I wonder if that is incident limit related. But he's going to pull off.
Yeah, not happy.
This was a little while ago. This is turn 15, the 57 of Townend on the 14 of McKenzie, and just got whipped around.
Yeah, another incident for Townend in this race. That is not pretty. And it's going to be very frustrating for him. He had just about gotten it back to exactly where he was running.
I don't know that this was his fault, though. If you look at this from top down,
No.
maybe that's tough. I don't want to be the steward on that one.
Yeah, there was a small push-up.
So it was the incident limit, by the way, for the 220 of Anderson. Here comes Workman and Cameron Martineau and Josh Soto from 9th. Where did he come from? 3 wide down the backstretch.
Soto wisely backs out yet again. Martineau has been trying to find a way around Workman for so long at this point. I have to wonder what is going to work, because so far nothing has been able to work to get past the Workman. What did I say about if he got a good qualifying run for Weston? Well, we've seen what can happen. He can battle it out and play great defense for position.
Yeah, this is a great fight here. It's going to open the door for Wan Shi Lin on the downside, on the inside of Best here, though, into turn 1. Pulls alongside, wrong side of the road here. Could he over/under? Do his best here. 0.3 of a second between the front 2. There's less than 15 minutes to go. And yeah, as I mentioned, for the 220, it was an automatic penalty. It was a drive-through only for the incident limit, but he chose not to serve it, so he will finish unofficially in 25th for now.
Not surprised, I think, in the case of Anderson, just because of how much he had been playing off kilter on the racing lines. How many times he had some door-to-door contact. Those can add up potentially, depending on how hard it is to 4Xs. Point Townend, though, he's right back on the offense yet again.
A little nucleus of entertainment today, hasn't he, Blake Townend? He's been involved in a lot, went through a lot, has passed a lot of cars, and this is one of those days that you go, what if? If he had just qualified a little further forward and just didn't get caught up in so many incidents, I think he could have absolutely been in the conversation for a top 5 or a win, as Cameron Martineau looks at Weston Workman to the outside out of turn 12. This is a great opportunity here for Soto as well. Down the inside, no space, didn't try it.
That was too tough of a place to send it 3 wide. Could have caused contact. Good play by Soto to back out of it. Martineau's trying different things, though, and those different things aren't working yet. Workman getting back defensive. Soto wants to go.
Soto to the inside at turn 1, and Martineau is going to let him clear. Put a different locomotive on the front of the train and see if he can pull something a little faster. But Workman is showing his prowess, not only a competitor in Toyota GR Cup North America, but also in a couple other very competitive one-make championships in the U.S. Recently picking up a victory north of the border as well, so he knows his stuff. He knows what to do when he's got cars in the rear view. And nothing he's done, at least that we've seen, has been out of line, out of step with the expectations of racing drivers. Clear, fair defense. And the other drivers are just going to have to figure out how to get around him, and it is so much easier said than done.
Toto's kind of in the same boat, race and air series, but he's also extremely vigilant on speed when it comes to the style of racing on the sim. And so far, he has just been picking his spots. Now he can finally be the aggressor, I think, for the first time all race. And now it's the matter, when does he pick the spot? You can already see how much speed he's picking up, just waiting for a chance to poke.
This is where he's really good, this fast right-hander. He's opened up some moves the last few times around, but Workman covers it off. Soto's going to sling to the outside. Big lateral slide, though the tires did not like that. But he's all over Weston Workman here for 7th place.
Just trying to pressurize the mistake yet again. Touted, trying to set it on 3 different cars. Makes a pass on 2 of them. And
this is just like a coffee grinder in here, just throwing cars everywhere. See what Browns come out the other side. The 72 of Goulart is slow. That's going to allow the 41 to come through. Nick Yanni's going to shove the 39 through. I'll bet you, I mean, these guys are either having the most fun that they've ever had in iRacing, or they're all going to finish so frustrated with each other for not all working together towards a common goal. But it is racing. They all signed up to race.
To race, you must first battle aggressively, I guess you could say. I was not going to go with the quote direction, but, you know, right now, Workman, again, has been good at times when things get too aggressive to be able to just let the pack breathe, be able to pull away from the pack for a few laps, give himself some breathing space. Everybody else seems to be all getting whooped up here for that aggressive point. 10 minutes to go, already past that point. Polasek seems to be getting ready to dial in soon. They have 6 estimated laps to go.
Well, as I always say with Finian, our race director, aggressive goes around. And, you know, who knows what the last 9 minutes and 30 seconds of this race are going to hold. But I can tell you, I don't think we're done up front just yet either. While the action has been mid-pack and towards the back of the pack today, Michael Polasek is lingering right in the rearview mirror of Michael Yanni. There's the focus on Polasek's face. And Michael Yanni, trying to get his 2nd win of the season, absolutely relaxed and laser focused, but I don't think that the full pressure has been mounted just yet.
Yeah, right now I think it still comes down to 5 minutes to go, which will be about 2-3 laps to get the job done, give or take. And right now, if based on what we've seen, he needs to close up an extra car length if he wants to do that. Right now, speaking of car lanes, Darling taking some car lanes, putting it to the inside of the course crew.
Yeah, Roll drove all the way to 4th around Castro, and then Castro got back by Roll, and now Darling is trying to move back by the 7. So they're about to effectively reverse where they were earlier in this race. Darling not willing to give up. I thought Paul would have a little more speed in this one, given how fast he was at Road America, but hasn't been able to extract the last 10th that he needs. His quickest lap of the race is a 136.9, which is co-requisite. It's actually the 4th fastest time in the race, but not quite as fast as the 136.8s that the 3 leaders have been able to run.
Right now, Darling seems to be at least just trying to make sure he gets good points right now, right? Just don't overexert. Here comes the exertion up for the race lead, though. Polasek is starting to apply the pressure as expected, starting to push the tires to close this deficit to be able to try and get a send-off.
I thought he might have a look into 5, but I don't think he wants to show his hand so early. These two spent the entirety of VIR absolutely nose to tail, trading spots, bouncing off each other. It was so much fun to watch. They've got a lot of respect for each other, but championship on the line. Polasek's got the advantage. Yanni's the one that needs to make something happen. And just the points differentials from first to second aren't going to be enough for Polasek to lose this if Yanni were to win the next 2 races. It will have to be Yanni winning and Polasek having some poor results. But if Polasek finishes second the next 2 weeks and Yanni wins, Polasek would still be champion.
Right now, Polasek seems to be in line for the attack to be on schedule. Now it's just going to be picking his spot, right? Just trying to make sure he doesn't put himself in a compromised position. Yanni has led all 32 complete laps so far, coming up to 33. Polasek is one of those we've seen who's not afraid to steal it. Take it away at the very end, wait until the final laps, be able to try and go. Right now, 4 estimated laps to go on the pylon.
Yeah, again, I don't really have a sense of how hard Polasek has been pushing. Maybe he's been saving something or learning, but these two have just been so close together all year long that I don't know that Polasek's got a miraculous 3/4 tenths a lap that he needs to catch or to pass Yanni. I mean, he can match the pace all day long, but finding overlap is something different entirely. And with 5 minutes and 57 seconds on the board, you have to start experimenting pretty close to now.
He's not close enough to be able to do anything yet. He needs another car length, and that's going to take probably another lap or 2. We've seen that in the pack with Workman especially, where drivers need that time to be able to settle in and close in, even when you push uber aggressive. Right now, Polasek seems to be trying to sort out and plot, where do I gain that time and make it stay? That's the problem, making the 2 tenths turn to a 10th and staying that way.
I think there's time to be gained over here. He's a little offline with the left-hander. Didn't take a lot of curb, leaving things on the table for later in this race. Battles continue outside of the top 15, but they have gotten their fair share of airtime today, haven't they? We'll take you there if anything gets really exciting. Well, let's have a look at this. This is Goulart and Rick Segrini, and then Wetz and Sudik into turn 7.
A little bit of aggression yet again on some of those red and black machines. We've seen that all race today. Goulart doesn't want to fall back anymore. He's got -6 after being one of those drivers I talked about that would run good for the first half, then fall back after they burn the tires. Up in the race lead though, Polasek is close, but not diving close. Not close enough to lunge unless it's a dive bomb.
I think if he keeps that amount of distance to Yanni, he is close enough where he could throw it down the inside and get overlap. Will he be able to make it out the other side without making contact with Yanni? I'm not sure, but he's right there. I mean, this is absolutely as close as you can get without being inside the bumper of the car ahead of you. So 4 minutes left. There's been a little drama between Goulart and Rick Segrini. They're both on pit lane. I wonder if they're well, I thought they were on pit lane. They were not. Let's see if there was some contact here.
And the answer is...
Well, Rick Segrini just pulled over, and Goulart did as well. So I wonder if there was some other issue at play.
Rick Segrini had a black flag for incident points.
Oh, that'll do it. So there were some drivers that mentioned that they were worried about this being a track that you could rack up those incident points. We talked about COTA. We only had a couple of drivers go over the incident threshold there, and that was the big worry on the season. But a few drivers mentioned this place is easy to get them if you're not paying attention, or in the heat of battle like we saw. All right, 3 minutes and 13 seconds to go. This is 3 laps left this time through, and Polasek has got to start lighting the afterburners here.
Looks like he's already applying the pressure. Nearly hits the back of Yanni, in fact. That's going to maybe take away a chance for turn 5. Just a little bit too quick for the run down to set things up for the hairpin.
All a timing battle, I think. Where and when do you apply that pressure? Try to get that overlap. At turn 5, I think it's useful. There's a number of corners around here like that and turn 15 that sometimes being faster isn't any good because you just get trapped and maybe leave you vulnerable with the car behind.
Only going to have a couple more chances to do this, though. They are running tight on time after all. Polasek just trying to set up some good runs out of these corners. Try and use the banking and use a bit of the elevation as an advantage in some of these corners. Just isn't coming through yet right now. He isn't close enough to get alongside unless he gets extremely brave.
Look at this
he's
run.
Going brave.
Here comes Polasek to the inside. They're side by side for a moment. It puts Yanni offline. Watch the crossover here. Back on throttle. I don't know if Yanni can defend this in time. He's going to leave the door sort of open, but Polasek can't fit the 45 to the inside there.
Polasek able to wrap the bottom, though. Side by side, running close on time. Looking like we may get 2 laps to go by a couple seconds as Polasek goes wide nearly.
And Yanni got the lead back. But now the 45's to the inside. It'll be last lap. This is it. White flag, 1 lap to go at Barber.
It was going to be close on time, but that battle really cost them time for that flag. Polasek going on the squeeze.
To the outside now, Michael Polasek trying to go 4 for the last 4. Yanni trying to wrestle back a win that he thinks might be owed to him after the battles that we've seen all season long. Banging fenders now, down the back straightaway towards turn 5.
Good run for Polasek. Just has to make it stick, though. Yanni can't get the squeeze. He's pushed wide.
Michael Yanni drops to second. Landry now to 3rd place. Trying for 2nd. All the while, Darling and Castro are muscling each other for 4th. We're not done yet. Yanni looks to the inside of Polasek down towards turn 7.
Trying to force the compromise line for Polasek. Couldn't get it. Yanni had a lot of bounce on the suspension. Here comes the run for Landry.
This is disaster for Michael Yanni. Side by side with Jason Landry. He's trying to get another 2nd place finish. He's going to wrestle it away for the moment. They're banging doors up through the S's here on this last lap.
This is exactly what Polasek needed to see. A battle for 2nd rather than trying to pressurize him. Yanni getting pressured as they keep on going down the hillside, more going down the corkscrew.
Yeah, great battles back here. Here comes Landry again to the inside. Final few corners. Michael Polasek waited all the way to the last lap. He's going to sweep through turn 15. Michael Polasek continues to find the magic in Toyota GR Cup North America eSports, and he is going to win at Barber Motorsports Park by leading 1 lap.
You waited for the right moment. His right moment comes in perfectly. How about that? Made it stay on the outside and got the run he needed to for turn 5 for the hairpin.
Battle still coming back to the checkers here. Soto, Cameron Martineau, all inside the top 10. Weston Workman making it to the end. And it'll be a top 10. It'll be 7th place for Workman over Matt Best, Soto, and Cameron Martineau.
And these drivers have a day, is all you can say. They battled all this run. Have a run! Stewart and Adams making a bit of contact there, but great drive by Adams. Gets 14th, and by Stewart get 13.
By 25 thousandths of a second to boot. And Polasek will take a moment and cool down. I mean, you have to give him credit for absolutely perfect strategy, and it was not an easy situation. I mean, the battle that he had there at the end was not a one and done. It took about a half a lap to complete that pass, and it was another half lap of planning and plotting to set up for it, Justin. You have to feel for Michael Yanni, though. Drove a great race, and it just slipped away again at the end.
But we know that Polasek is the planner. He knows how to draw up the blueprints. He knows how to draw things to action. And guess what? He put those plans in action perfectly. Once again, be able to get the win. How about this season, though? When you look at the numbers now, you're talking about somebody with 4 wins in 6 races.
Math is really hard to beat. I think mathematically, Yanni is still in it, yes, but it will require Michael Polasek to make no points next time out at Indianapolis. And that is not likely. Well, he's going to try to do a burnout. It'll be a little tricky on the Continental Slicks. There he goes. All right, let's have a look at our race results here in this one. This was a fantastic race, and I'll be honest, I really wasn't sure what to expect at this racetrack, Justin, but it put on a show for us.
And Michael Polasek with that win, with Landry sneaking by in second. Great move to be able to take advantage of Yanni when that pass opportunity opened for him. Darling did hold off Kevin Road, Andre Castro in their pack as well, but Weston Workman, great race by him, Kyle, all race long. Started 9th, held on to 7th, and had to fight hard to keep it.
Yeah, I mean, he did a great job, and again, we've talked at points this season. He's had the speed, just didn't get a chance to show it. He got to show it here today, and just P7 for him. Matt Best, 8th. Joshua Soto drove through a bunch of the field to grab a 9th. Cameron Martineau in 10th. And Cameron also drove from pretty deep in the field to get there. And look down the rest of the order. Matt Adams from dead last to 14th. It won't be the best day on the calendar for him, but I'll say the progress was good and the pace was strong.
That was some beautiful pace, I think, actually, for him. 27 to 14 says a lot, and I wasn't surprised to see him move up so much. Blake Townend as well. He was a ball of excitement today from the incident. Got to 15th after 2 different spins. Still beat the one who caused the first contact, in the rear part of the first contact, should say, Christopher Sivert, Nick Yanni, Wallstein, Sudik. Sudik getting a solid run front. Lozano also got himself a good run in the 8 car.
Well, looking down the rest of the order there, and drivers that didn't have such great days, Rick Segrini, Goulart, Anderson, so the BSI and Tech Sport Racing teammates didn't have the runs that they were hoping for. We saw Miguel Colon get caught up in an incident, and same with Andrew Sharp, and Micah Hendricks also out with a collision at turn number 5. Now, we've got some championship scenarios we're going to talk about here in just a moment's time, but this was a fantastic race. We do have one more round in this, and it's at Indianapolis Motor Speedway towards the tail end of September. And Justin, that's a completely different racetrack than this, but I'm very excited to see what Indy's got in store for us.
I can't wait to go to the Brickyard to see what happens to close out the season in the series. It is a racetrack that brings a lot of opportunities for Patsy with the draft, especially in the infield section and down the front straightaway. But it's going to be a beautiful finale, I think, when we go to the Brickyard in a couple weeks.
Well, let's chat with Jason Landry in the second place position, car number 5. Jason Landry, P2 again, and it came on the last lap in a pretty exciting battle for the top. Take us through that race, because it seemed like everyone there was biding their time, waiting for the opportunity to strike there at the end and to follow up with another second place.
Yeah, exactly like you said. Start the race, just wanted to try to get up at the front in the top 5 and just kind of chill for a bit to save our tires. And really, they put up lots of practice in. I was sick the last 2 days, still sick today, so I'm super ecstatic that I actually pulled it off.
And as well, when it comes to a race like this, how was it in terms of plotting and planning in a situation like that, especially towards the end?
It was really all about saving that front left tire. Was really hard to do. Once I was able to stay kind of in the draft with Polasek and Yanni, there was some moves behind. I think Andre Castro made a move, which then cost them time, and we were just able to pull away just slightly. So at that point, once we started pulling time, I think all 3 of us decided we were not fighting at all, and we were just going to the last 5-6 minutes. And yeah, after that, it was fight for everything you got. I definitely practiced a lot for that last move for around the inside of turn 14, inside of 15, and then the outside of 16. I did lots of practice for that, and I'm super happy it actually worked, and I needed it.
Jason, congratulations. That was a job well done. P2 and Indianapolis on September 21st. We hope to see you there. Congratulations on a podium finish today.
Thank you very much, guys. I really like to thank the guys for helping me practice. You guys all know who you are. A lot of thank you.
Thanks so much, Jason. Appreciate your time. And on top of the board, it's Michael Polasek for the 4th time this season. Michael, this has just been an unbelievable stretch for you. The last 3 rounds, you got wins there, some of them just by thousandths of a second. Today, just chasing Michael Yanni lap after lap. We were watching battles from 10th to 27th all night long. We knew that things would get hot up at the front. And on the very last lap, you just light the afterburners, go up there, you win your 4th race, and you have a 62-point lead over Michael Yanni, which means that you are the 2024 North American GR Cup eSports champion, $2,500 plus the per race pricing. So congratulations for that. What a battle. Take us through that last couple laps there with Jason Landry and Michael Yanni.
Thank you very much. But first of all, this has been such a great series. Thank you for the SRO for putting the series on. The racing here has been incredibly respectful and some of the most fun racing I've ever had. Everybody is super chill. They race each other really hard, but we all give each other plenty of space up at the front. And this has been a very, very tough series. Lots of very difficult competition like Michael Yanni, Andre Castro, and plenty of others. So to come out as champion here is absolutely incredible. For the last couple laps, I just wanted to keep putting the pressure on Michael Yanni, and eventually I was finally able to get that run out of the final corner that I needed. And at that point, because it was the white flag, I just wanted to hold my line and hopefully try around the outside, which is very difficult. Usually you just understeer out wide, and from there it's just a matter of hopefully trying to wrest the lead away any way I could.
What stood out to you the most during this battle for the championship and this run in general? What stood out the most to you throughout the series?
Well, first and foremost, it's really just about keeping your nose clean and being in the right position at the end of the race, because with these cars having so much draft, it can be very difficult to run away at the front. So it's just a matter of positioning yourself to be right there at the end of the race, whether that's leading or being in P2 or wherever you need to be. The last 2 laps are what really matters, and as I've started to say, you really only need to lead 1 lap to win a race, the last one.
Absolutely. And Michael, I know you've claimed the championship already around early, which is impressive in its own right. You've won 4 of the 6 races that we've competed in. There are still cash prizes available at Indianapolis, so can we expect to see you there and put a cherry on top of the successful season?
Oh, absolutely. I definitely intend on hopefully trying to make it 5 in a row. Obviously, with the competition that's in this series, that's going to be very tough to do, but I'm going to give it my best shot.
Michael Polasek, congratulations, man. That was so much fun to watch, and we can't wait to see you again on September 21st for Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Congratulations on the race win and the early title victory here at Barber Motorsports Park and iRacing today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Michael. Wow, what a battle. I mean, yeah, we might have wrapped up the championship, at least the top spot, a little early, but there is so much still left to sort, Justin, as we head into our last round on September 21st. The battle for second is one of them. It's going to be a pretty fierce fight there because Michael Yanni only has a 21-point advantage over Andre Castro. We could see that flip. And then between Castro and Darling, 1 point between them going into the final round.
Throw in Jason Landry in the mix as well, and you might have 5 different drivers, well, 4 I should say, that can really shuffle that order towards the very end of this championship. It should be a fun finale, though, to say the very least, because the Brickyard was so much tradition, so much history. To close things out, it's going to be an exciting finale to see which teams and which drivers are able to handle the circuit, but better yet, finish out the season strong to solidify those points positions.
We also got a preview of what's to come next weekend right here on GT World when the real Toyota GR Cup North America Series heads to Barber Motorsports Park for the first time. Justin, quick thoughts there on how we expect the race next week to go.
I think similar to this one, where it's going to come down to plotting and planning, but better yet, in a race like this, as we've seen, you're going to see a lot of people being uber aggressive in the mid-pack. Those are equal pace, as we've seen, as we touched upon for tonight. We've seen the drivers that were with intent to qualifying really fight hard, and we've seen a lot of shuffling as a result in the grouping there. I think we might see that in the real world as well come next week.
Well, very excited to be a part of this championship. We do have one more round, as we mentioned, September 21st for the tail end of the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League. Big thanks to Toyota and TRD, Toyota Gazoo Racing here in North America. Big thanks to iRacing as well for giving us a platform on which to race here. Big thanks to Justin Prince for being alongside me, Finian in race control, and for myself, Kyle Heyer. We appreciate you joining us. I'll see you next week from Barber Motorsports Park in the real world, and then we'll see you again here September 21st for the season finale of the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League when we head to Indianapolis and we hold court in the racing capital of the world. We'll see you next time right here on GT World.